This is Atomic Shinobi, and today I'm going to narrate what if Naruto chose to become the devil they feared. If you enjoy this video, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no time, let's start the story.
Makoto Uchiha frowned as she wondered, where is he and what is he doing in here, as she hoped through the trees of the forest of death. After half an hour, Makoto saw something that momentarily stopped her in her tracks before she yelled, Naruto. 4-year-old Naruto lay unconscious on the floor of the forest of death, blood oozing from his eyes. She was drawn to a puff of smoke, and then her eyes widened and she gasped, Kushina. Hello Makoto. Kushina grinned pitifully and gazed down at Naruto's form, saying, my poor, little one. She attempted to remove the hair from his face, but her hand went through his body and a tear ran down her cheek. When Makoto realized that Kushina was a Bunshin, her eyes widened, she activated her Sharingan, and she scowled. What's going on? Who are you? And why are you pretending to be Kushina? She asked. Kushina stated without pausing. 4 years ago, on October 10th, when I was talking with you, the elder who was walking with me was taking me to where Minato was so that I could give birth to my son. The reason she was taking me to where he was because he was my husband who I secretly married and because I was the second Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. Makoto's eyes went wide as Kushina turned around and said, I was taken to a small temple that was outside of Konoha with seals all around it. The reason was because Mito Uzumaki Senju, wife of the Shodem Hokage, was the Kyuubi first Jinchuriki, and when she gave birth to her only son the Kyuubi tried to break free of her just like it tried with me. Makoto responded, is that why Kyuubi attacked Konoha, because it broke free? Kushina replied, no. Right after Naruto was born, a man in a spiral mask attacked the elders and took Naruto hostage. He forced Minato to rescue Naruto. While he kidnapped me, he broke the seal holding the Kyuubi and controlled it to attack Konoha. Minato fought the man and he told me that the man claimed to be Madara Uchiha. Makoto replied, that's not possible. Madara died fighting the Shodemi Hokage. Kushina stated, I know. All I can say for sure is that he wore a black cloak with red clouds on it, a spiral mask, and had a Sharingan in the only eye that was visible. It could have been a transplant like Kakashi, but I don't know. After Kyuubi broke free of me, I was dying. Minato was able to rescue Naruto and then came for me. I don't know how he brought Kyuubi back to where I was, but he summoned the Shinigami and sealed the Kyuubi into Naruto along with my soul so that I could see my son and part of his soul. And for what? When she started crying. Kushina stated, for those fucking villagers so they could attack and abuse him. So they could hate him. Do you know how painful it is to watch those things from your only child's eyes and not to be able to do anything about it? They stab him in the eyes. Makoto, the last thing he saw was the sneering faces of the villagers who was led in his room in the orphanage by that woman who ran it. Anbu and members of the police force saw this, but once they saw him they turned the other way. It was too much for me to handle. I made a deal with Kyuubi. What do you mean? What did you do? Makoto asked, her eyes widening. Kushina said, what any mother would do to protect her child. Anything and everything possible. I convinced Minato to help me and we made a deal. We offered Kyuubi revenge against the man who used him to attack Konoha. Minato also offered to take Kyuubi's place inside the seal, which would allow Kyuubi's soul to go into hibernation like it has in the past and leave Naruto's body. In exchange for his freedom, he would use his chakra to help save Naruto's life and enhance Naruto's other senses to help replace his lost sight, as well as leave his chakra inside the seal. Kyuubi agreed also to stay hidden for 200 years to regain his lost chakra also, so that way the world would think of him as dead instead of trying to track him down and reseal him. Right now Minato is giving me some of Kyuubi chakra to use this Bunshin body so that I can speak with you. When I detected your chakra signature and heard your scream, please Makoto, please, I beg of you. I know you helped him already by breastfeeding him so that he wouldn't starve to death, but please protect my son as one mother to another, as my best friend, please. As she was on her knees bowing to Makoto and crying as her voice was filled with pain and anguish. Please stop Kushina. I will do everything I can for your son. I promise you, as one mother to another, to do everything I can for him as if he were my own son, Makoto said, startled by what she had heard and seen. Thank you my friend. I'm almost out of time. I don't know if or when I'll be able to speak to you again. Goodbye my friend. Kushina sniffed as she sat up and then vanished. After examining Naruto's form, Makoto leaned down and picked him up gently, saying, well, I guess the first thing I should do is get your wounds treated and cleaned up. 2 years later, time has passed. Where are we going, mother? Why did you ask me to come with you? What is this place? Itachi Uchiha asked his mother Makoto as they strolled through a cave together. Makoto explained, this is a special evacuation shelter that my father built back during the Second Great Shinobi War. He made this as a place for the children of the Uchiha clan to go to hide to ensure our clan survived if Konoha was attacked. Itachi replied, I see, so you are showing me this so that in case our village is attacked someday I can make sure the next generation lives. After a brief period of silence, Makoto said, that is a bonus of coming here today. The other is in front of us. Come on out, it's alright. This is Itachi, my eldest son, little one. After blinking and glancing at his mother, Itachi turned to face the front of the cave and was startled to see a figure emerge from the roof, hanging upside down. Before noticing that the person hanging upside down had blonde hair and sunglasses, Itachi noticed that there was a small ambush point in the roof where a full-size adult could hide. The individual stated, Itachi was surprised and then confused, and now he's confused and agitated. Makoto chuckled and replied, yes little one, you're getting better at reading people. So are you going to hang upside down all day, or can we head on to your home? All that blood going to your head can't be good. The figure said, come mother, niece-san, as he turned and began to leave after flipping in midair and landing on the ground right side up. Itachi glanced accusingly at his mother, who replied, I adopted him 2 years ago as a request from his birth mother, who was my best friend. I never cheated on your father. Itachi was wide-eyed. With soft eyes, Itachi uttered, I see, why does he live here then and not with us? Makoto grinned a little before following the figure, and when they reached a massive cavern, she saw Itachi's eyes widen. In front of him was a vast field with grass and trees, a river with deer and birds, and a few other creatures like rabbits. Itachi looked up at the cavern's roof and saw a massive crystal emerging from the sky as the room was suddenly covered in rainbow colors before turning white again. Makoto stated, my father was very skilled with earth jutsu. He also spent a long-term mission with a cave explorer who was studying cave crystals. He learned how crystal reflect light, and he had some cut special that would take sunlight that went into a small hole several miles away and bounce around and amplify before bouncing again several more times until it reaches that crystal up there which lights up this entire cavern. Besides myself and my father, you and the little one are the only people who have ever seen this place, says Itachi. Amazing. Itachi was startled when a voice behind him said, yes it is. He turned to see the figure standing directly beside Makoto. Itachi extended his hand and said, hello, I am Itachi Uchiha. Makoto said, it's okay little one, he won't hurt you, as Naruto turned his head slightly to face her. After snapping his finger, Naruto shook Itachi's hand and introduced himself as, I am Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze Uchiha. Itachi said. Makoto interrupted him and replied, I think I should explain something before you go on, Itachi. You see, my best friend was Kushina Uzumaki, your godmother. Naruto is her only son. He is also the only son of the Yondaime Hokage. You might remember when you were younger I would disappear for several hours a day. The reason was because I was going to see the Sandaime and was breastfeeding Naruto here because I was one of the only women in the village who would feed him. I did it because I suspected who his mother was but couldn't prove it until 2 years ago. 2 years ago I went to check on him since I wasn't able to on his birthday, and I found he was missing from the orphanage. I used my Sharingan to try and find him, and I did find him beaten nearly to death inside the forest of death. Naruto, would you mind removing your glasses? Itachi gasped as he saw the pale blue eyes and said, you're blind? Naruto said, yes, mother. He slowly reached up and removed his glasses. Naruto replied, yes, someone during the attack stabbed me in both my eyes with a senbon needle. Mother here believes the reason I am blind is because there is no blood in my eyes, as the actual damage to it was healed, but the eyes have special chemicals that are sealed in the eye. These chemicals act as a focuser. It is also these chemicals that are the source of your clan's bloodline, since you have an extra set of chemicals in your eyes than normal people do, while putting on his glasses. Note: I'm not sure if this is accurate, but I assumed that the reason for their eye bleeding every time they use the Magnakyu Sharingan would be that it caused blindness. Makoto then went on to explain what had occurred to Kyuubi. And so after I picked him up I brought him here and began to nurse him back to health. I then began to help him as best as I could, and between the visits Kushina would show up and help. We were able to start training him. As you might have noticed before he shook your hand, he snapped his finger thanks to the enhancement Kyuubi made to him before he left. Naruto can now see sound waves bounce off objects, and when they get back to him he is able to see what is there. Naruto stated, I am also a sensor, so I can detect chakra, and I am able to smell and track things with my nose. Also, while I meditate I can enter my mind where mom and dad are, and dad taught me an S-rank jutsu that Konoha received from Suna. It's called Wind Tracker. It's a jutsu that Suna hunter nins use to track missing ninja. It allows me to see objects within 20 feet of me while moving myself, because the wind generated by me moving acts like a sound wave also. Makoto replied, he's only been learning it for a year now, and as his chakra control and chakra amount increase, so should his range. Itachi replied, I see. So why have you brought me here today, mom? Makoto replied, because I wanted you to meet your new little brother and be here when he officially become a member of our clan. Itachi said, what do you mean, mom? as his eyes widened a little. You know of Hitaki Kakashi? Makoto remarked. Itachi replied, yes, the only man with a Sharingan who is not Uchiha. Makoto said, yes, when he received that eyes your father was pissed and demanded his death. Minato refused and the Uchiha clan nearly caused a war within the village over this until a compromise was reached. The compromise was that Kakashi had to turn over all his clan belongings, give up his clan status, and that if any other person received a Sharingan from a Uchiha member, then that person would become Uchiha automatically and would fall under the Uchiha clan rules no matter what the Hokage, council, or any clan said. For the past 2 years while I trained Naruto, I have been developing a jutsu, and today if I am right about what I believe is wrong with Naruto eyes, then I can return to Naruto what was taken from him. As she took off Naruto glasses and began to flash through some hand signs and placed one hand over her own eyes while also placing a hand over Naruto eyes and said, do Genesis no Jutsu. As chakra covered both her eyes and Naruto's eyes for several moments until Makoto began to pant. With uncertainty in his voice, Naruto uttered, what just happened, mother? My eyes feel funny. Open your eyes slowly, little one, Makoto said. Naruto covered his eyes once more before slowly opening them and screaming, Bright. As she put her hand over his eyes and said, okay, slowly open them again, get used to the small amount of light in my hands first, Makoto said. Oh, I'm sorry little one, here. Slowly opening his eyes, Naruto first winced before his eyes adjusted and he remarked, it's still too bright. Naruto, Itachi said, close your eyes, I have an idea. Naruto inquired, what is your idea? Itachi responded, Kyuubi enhanced your senses. What if he tried to fix your eyes and enhanced them also? Kyuubi was an animal and may have gave you night vision. Let's go back into the tunnel where we first met and see if you can see then. After closing his eyes and nodding, Naruto started to move for a moment before turning to head toward the tunnel on the right. They were in the tunnel a few minutes later when Makoto said, all right, try opening your eyes slowly one more time, little one. Before he started to scan the tunnel, Naruto slowly opened his eyes, blinked a few times, and said, I can see. He then raised his hand and opened and closed them in awe. He screamed, Mother, as his eyes met Makoto's, then rushed forward to embrace her while sobbing and repeatedly whispering, thank you. Try putting on your glasses and let's walk back where we were before since we can see you have some sight, Itachi said with a small smile. You might be able to see normally if you wear your glasses. After nodding and putting his glasses back on, Naruto and the others walked back into the cavern. As they did so, Naruto's mouth opened slightly and he grabbed his head and said, beautiful ow. With a worried tone, Makoto asked, what's wrong Naruto? Naruto stated, burns, my eyes are eye-ticking and burning and I'm feeling light-headed like I'm running out of chakra. Naruto, close your eyes, you're sending chakra to your eyes. Try pulling chakra away from it and see if it helps, Itachi said, activating his Sharingan. After closing his eyes for a short while, Naruto scowled and uttered, darkness, I'm blind again. With a sorrowful gaze on Naruto, Makoto covered her mouth and said, I'm so sorry little one. Itachi was saying, Naruto, try sending chakra to your eyes again. As Naruto reached up to rub his eyes, he said, what the I can see but my eyes burn. Itachi froze, grabbed Naruto's hand, startled him, and said, Naruto, I'm going to remove your glasses for a moment. Please be patient for a moment. I need to see your eyes, so it may be bright or painful, alright. Makoto gasped as Naruto nodded and Itachi slowly reached up to remove his glasses. Naruto, who was flinching, said, it's bright, can I close them? Yes, Itachi replied. Why did you need to see my eyes? Asked Naruto. Because, Naruto, you are now a Uchiha, Itachi said. The Sharingan is in your eyes, you know. While closing his eyes and removing the chakra from his eyes, Naruto scowled, snapped his fingers, took Itachi's glasses, put them back on, and uttered the words, what does that ow, not again. It means we have even more training to do, little one, Makoto stated. When you activate your Sharingan, you can briefly see, but it quickly drains your chakra, which is why you keep feeling dizzy from the energy coursing through your chakra. Naruto said, I can live with that, and nodded. The point of the Senbon needle before it entered my eyes was the last thing I ever remembered seeing, and I thought I would never see again. However, you restored my vision. I can put up with this. Your sight will only be an aid for you, Makoto said with a smile, until you can defend yourself. We will keep the fact that you have the Sharingan a secret. I want you to train with Naruto. Itachi, only the three of us will know. The reason is that everyone will be aware of Naruto's blindness when I enroll him in the academy the following year. I will accept responsibility for this from both your father and the Hokage. Both Itachi and Naruto turned to face her, and Naruto asked, what do you mean, mother? What will take place? It's adult business, little one, Makoto remarked. The only thing that will occur is that the Hokage who has been searching for you will become irate until I explain to him how I discovered you blind and close to death and chose to protect you until you could defend and care for yourself. My husband will be upset that I kept it from him, but he won't be able to say much when I explain that the jutsu you and I developed to help restore sight was for the benefit of the clan, enabling our members to defeat enemies who would use jutsu that blinds us so that we can still fight and render their jutsu useless. Itachi replied, I will also say that I agreed with this plan, mother, since I will help train Naruto, but the problem is, do we have a jutsu that we can pass off? Oh, I guess I must have forgotten about that, Makoto remarked. I was initially trying to figure out how to teach Naruto to eat, drink, and take care of himself, and I did come up with a few jutsu that improve our other senses so that we can imitate what he does naturally. However, as of right now, I believe that it has been a very exhausting day for everyone. Please, Naruto, exercise caution and refrain from trying to see too much. You have an entire lifetime of sights to see. Don't rush the situation. Take a nap, and we'll start training you more tomorrow. Every opportunity we have to train with you, Itachi, or I will visit you, okay? According to Naruto, yes, mother, Nisan, as Makoto put it, and remember to read your lessons. Itachi glanced at his mother and said, read, yes, Naruto replied, because the paper and the ink have different properties. Mother, and I came up with a method for me to read anything written by sending my chakra over the written area like a river. I can then concentrate on reducing my chakra output until the words simply appear to me as I bathe in chakra. It also works another way, Makoto stated. Let's say you wrote a scroll, wrapped it up, and walked away soon after. Naruto can enter, send his chakra across the tabletop, and read what you wrote. This could allow him to read enemy plans after they've been created without the adversary realizing he has them. According to Itachi, impressive, thank you, but you should see my taijutsu, Naruto remarked. Makoto said, don't get too arrogant, Naruto, as a couch caught their attention. You're good, but there's always someone more intelligent, faster, stronger, or bigger. With a more solemn tone, Naruto replied, yes, mother. Get some rest, Makoto said, grinning as she approached Naruto and planted a kiss on his forehead. Your training continues tomorrow. Yes, mother, Naruto remarked, it was nice meeting you, Nisan. Itachi replied, it was a pleasure to see you also, Naruto-kun. As she and Itachi departed, Makoto remarked, well, let's go then, bye little one. Before shutting them off, Naruto sent chakra to his eyes, took one last look around, and thought, thank you, mother. A tear ran down his cheek. After a year in the cave where he had spent the previous few years, Naruto thought, there's definitely something wrong. It has been almost a month since Mom and Nisan returned. I suppose I have no choice but to leave and see what's going on. I'm nervous because it's been so long since I've actually left this place tonight. I'll leave even if it's bad weather. At least one of them should have stopped by to see me before that, since I was supposed to start at the academy sometime soon. Several hours later, Naruto emerged from the cave wearing a black pair of pants, a blue shirt, and a black cloak pulled over his head with a mask covering the lower half of his face. He sent chakra to his eyes for a brief moment to see the surrounding night area before stopping the chakra and snapping his finger. After a moment, he realized the area was clear and started to leave. After discovering the Uchiha district a short while later, Naruto scowled and mused, everything is so silent here. Why, though, is no one here? Where are the more than 100 Uchiha that mother mentioned? Naruto decided to send chakra to his eyes once more and started to look around as he walked, sniffing and frowning as he thought, blood, old blood, a lot of it also. After a few minutes, Naruto scowled upon seeing all of the dried blood on the ground or inside the houses. He then said, you can come out, as he left one of the houses and entered the street. I am aware that all four of you are present. The figure in front of him asked, who are you and why are you here? As the other four figures leapt around him in a diamond formation. I'm searching for someone, Naruto declared. I'm Kashu Uchiha, and I'm trying to find my mom. How can we be sure that you are Uchiha? One of the four figures asked, tensing up. Looking up at the person in front of him, Naruto smirked, sending chakra to his eyes, and said, Sharingan. He noticed an Anbu wearing an Inu mask. He seems to be telling the truth, Inu said, tensing up. Where have you been? Who is your mom? Are there any more survivors? What do you mean survivors? Scowled Naruto. What precisely took place here? Why is the ground covered in so much blood? According to Inu, you mean you don't know? Says Naruto. Know what? Inu looked at him and replied, I hate to be the one to inform you of this, but 3 weeks ago the Uchiha clan, with the exception of you and Sasuke Uchiha, were all massacred by Uchiha Itachi. All of the Anbu stiffened as they sensed the chakra leaving Naruto, but it vanished in an instant, and Naruto scowled and closed his eyes before saying, You're wrong. 2 other people have survived. I sense the chakra signatures of Mother and Nissan. They're alive, he said as he started to run. Inu started running after the figure and yelled, "Quick, follow him." After 20 minutes, Naruto arrived at the Uchiha shrine with the 4 Enbu. Naruto scowled as he entered the room and started to look around, and Inu asked, "Where are they?" As he started tapping the tiles with his foot, Naruto said, "Their chakra signature is below us, another cave. Maybe I don't know how to get to them, but they are directly below us, maybe 20 feet. Nissan chakra signature is weak. Everyone be quiet and don't move. This one, it's hollow," he said after checking a few. "How can you be sure?" A different Anbu asked. When Naruto merged into the ground, Inu recognized some of his hand signs and said, "Earth style. Headhunter no jutsu." He repeated the jutsu as he made his way to the tile Naruto was on, saying, "Stay here." When Naruto emerged in a tunnel with burning torches, he said, "Mother, Nissan," and started to descend the tunnel. "Little one," said Makoto's voice, "is that you?" When Naruto emerged from the tunnel, he gasped when he saw Makoto, who appeared injured, and then he saw Itachi, who was covered in bandages and had wounds. Naruto rushed to Itachi's side and asked, "What happened?" "Itachi and I were going to come get you for your first day of school when these men dressed like Anbu with the kanji of Ne on their mask appeared," Makoto said, looking down. "They started attacking everyone, children, women, and men. When they reached us, we were just on the outskirts of the Uchiha district. We had to engage in combat and started to entice them away from your residence. We took refuge in the shrine after killing the majority of them. Itachi and I were compelled to hide in Madara Uchiha's tomb after they surrounded the shrine. Following that, Itachi lost blood and went into a coma, where he has remained ever since. Even though I was concerned that those men might have discovered you or Sasuke, I couldn't abandon him for fear of their continued presence." Makoto hurriedly got up and grabbed her sword as Inu's voice said, "Sasuke, fine." Naruto then said, "Mother, stop. It's Kakashi." Without taking her eyes off Kakashi, Makoto scowled and uttered, "Are you sure, little one?" "Yes," Naruto replied. "Are you sure Sasuke's safe?" Makoto asked, lowering her sword and kneeling next to Itachi's body. Inu replied, "Yes, but if what you said is true, then someone impersonated Itachi and used the Magna-Q Sharingan on him." "That's not possible," Makoto said, tensing up and glancing at Inu. Since Madara Uchiha's body was never found, the Uchiha clan concealed all documentation on how to get that eye in this shrine after he killed the Shoden in order to guarantee that no one else will ever adhere to his forbidden beliefs and teachings. This shrine is dedicated to them. The general idea of his beliefs, which is written on the wall there, is all that remains after they were all destroyed. Sasuke thought, "Well, no one in our clan knows how to get that cursed eye." "Yes," Inu replied. He returned to the academy after spending a week in the hospital, but he now lives in an apartment. This is what Naruto said. "Mother, my eyes," quickly turning, Makoto uttered the words, "Stop using them, little one." Makoto noticed Naruto's eyes shift from the Sharingan to a normal pale blue as he nodded. "What's wrong with his eyes?" Inu asked, casting a doubtful glance. "Why does he refer to you as mother, and Itachi as brother?" Makoto scowled and turned to face Naruto, who nodded and introduced himself as Kashu Wan Uchiha. "After my parents died, Makoto Uchiha took me in as his adopted son and reared me." Makoto said with a small smile. After his parents died, bandits blinded Kashu. When he sends chakra to his eyes, I made a jutsu that gives him the Sharingan, but it works similarly to your transplant. It swiftly drains his chakra. He is blind when not using his Sharingan, but we have taught him to see by using sound waves. In addition to being a sensor, he is a wind element, which allows him to employ the wind tracker jutsu used by Sunahunter nins. In actuality, he has better vision than someone who does have eyes. He simply approaches it in a different way. Note: from now on, Naruto will be referred to as Kashu, which means little, and Wan, which means one. As Inu put it, "How does he know who I am?" Kashu responded, "I see sound waves, and while I can see your mask, I can also see your voice bouncing off your mask, and I recognize it from the bingo book. Mom, is Nissan going to be okay?" "He is stable, but he needs medical care," Makoto stated. Additionally, "I want the Sandaime to publicly declare that Itachi is innocent and that the true attackers of our clan will be held accountable." Kakashi replied, "Right, how do I let the rest of my team down here?" "It's not possible," Makoto said. "The only way to enter this area is with a Sharingan." "Can we use Shushin to leave this place?" asked Kakashi. "If so, I can arrange for a medic to be sent by my team to assist in his execution. I'll let the Hokage know to come as well." "Yes, that would be appreciated. Could you please give us 10 minutes? Makoto replied. "Since I haven't seen my other son in almost a month, I would like to see him in private." Makoto turned and remarked, "You used that jutsu Kushina taught you to dye your hair. as Kakashi nods and walks away. Yeah, Kashu said, like my mother, every hair on my body is now red. Makoto replied, who would have thought that a guy would ever be able to get a good use out of a kunoichi's long-term infiltration jutsu? What about your whiskers? I've used the seal Dad gave me to hide the seal on my stomach. Kashu scowled as he lowered the scarf. Makoto's eyes widened and he whispered, oh little one, why? I've also done this to hide them. Because I wanted a new life and I knew if I was caught that you would have to tell about me and I didn't want the Kyuubi to cause you or Nissan any trouble, Kashu said, his face covered in multiple scars across his cheeks that made it impossible to see the whiskers. I'll just say that these scars were also brought on by the attack that killed my parents and left me blind. Our family name is unimportant to our parents. As he pulled up his cloak, Makoto noticed that the Uchiha symbol had been cut in half, making it look like two Ds with a blue one in front and a red one in back. All they care about is me. So we've talked about it and created a new name and a new life. I'll only have this as a reminder. From now on, this will be my clan symbol, Kashu declared. Since my children will not have the Sharingan and I am attempting to honor my other parents as well, it demonstrates that I am a branch of the Uchiha clan, which is why it is a little different. Makoto replied, they will have the Sharingan if I teach you the jutsu I used on you. According to Kashu, maybe he's back. Upon entering, Inu remarked, I hope I'm not intruding. As Makoto took Itachi's right arm and Kashu went to pick up his left, he said, no, let's get Nissan some help. Kakashi took his feet, and Kashu sent chakra over all four of them, causing them to vanish in a whirlpool of leaves, surprising Inu. When a medical team and the Sandaime arrived at the shrine where the other three Anbu were, they appeared. The Sandaime said, Makoto, I'm sorry for your loss, but I'm glad you and your son are still alive. Do you know who those men who attacked your clan were? I'll put out a public statement first thing in the morning to let everyone in the village know the truth. Makoto replied, all I can tell you for sure is they had the kanji for NE on their mask. Makoto saw Kashu wince as he heard the Sandaime say, I see I don't know who they're. The Sandaime went on, but I will do everything in my power to see that the guilty are brought to justice. Makoto put her hand on his shoulder and tapped a spot that she used to soothe him, asking, are you all right, little one? Knowing that his mother wanted him to remain quiet and composed, Kashu said, just a little tired, mother. Makoto replied, all right. Let's take him to the hospital. I appreciate your nice remarks. Hokage-sama, would you kindly take Sasuke to the medical facility? I want to personally witness my other son's safety. The Sandaime stated, I will have him brought to you first thing in the morning because it is 3 a.m. and he is probably asleep and we need to make sure Itachi will be okay. Sasuke is unable to assist him at this time. Makoto replied, very well, but please put a team to protect him because whoever it was that attacked our clan may come back to finish the job if they hear we survived. I'll make sure that doesn't happen, the Sandaime said. Bring them to the hospital. Makoto and Kashu were sitting in the waiting room an hour later when Kashu muttered, he lied, mother, he is aware of those men's identities. Makoto said quietly, I know, what should we do? Asked Kashu. Just rest for the time being, Makoto said. We train and get ready, and tomorrow we will bring our remaining family members together. However, I don't want Sasuke to be aware of the Sandaime's deceit. He must have had a valid reason for lying, probably to keep us safe. When Kashu closed his eyes and said, I don't like hospitals, mother, the smell and sounds here confuse me. Before falling asleep, he nodded and placed his head on her lap. She then started to gently rub his red hair. Makoto grinned and started humming softly to him while she prayed for her children's and her own future. Sasuke Uchiha was en route to the academy the following morning when an Anbu showed up and said, pardon me, Uchiha-san, but the Hokage has asked you to be present at the hospital. Other Uchiha members seem to have been discovered alive. Sasuke's eyes widened, and he started running as quickly as he could in the direction of the hospital. Is it true? Sasuke asked hastily as he saw the Sandaime standing there when he got to the hospital. Have any members of the Uchiha clan been discovered alive? Yes, the Sandaime replied. They are in the intensive care unit, so please keep quiet while I take you to them. As he led Sasuke through the hospital, he said, come. Sasuke and the Sandaime arrived at the ICU waiting area and saw Kashu performing a handstand push-up. They heard him say, 215, 216, 217 inches as he continued. The Sandaime asked, where is your mother at Kashu? As Sasuke glanced around. As he pushed off and flipped in midair before landing on his feet, Kashu uttered the words, 225. A pair of Sharingan eyes were fixed on the Sandaime, and Sasuke gasped. So you're Sasuke? Asked Sasuke and Kashu. I'm Kashu, he said, his Sharingan fading and his eyes turning a dull, lifeless blue. What's going on here? Sasuke asked, turning around. Who is he and how does he possess the Sharingan? Sasuke was frozen in place when a voice said, his name is Kashu and he has the Sharingan because I gave it to him, son. When Sasuke turned around and saw Makoto, he said, Mom? In a hesitant voice. When Makoto smiled and nodded, Sasuke yelled, MOM, and rushed over to give her a tight hug while crying. Kashu turned, retrieved his sunglasses, and asked the Sandaime, who was staring at him, is there something you need, Sandaime-sama? With a small smile. The Sandaime responded, sorry, I just can't shake the feeling you seem familiar somehow. Would you mind taking off your face mask so that I can see your face? Sasuke gasped as the Sandaime's eyes widened and Kashu said, I looked so much like my father that they wanted to erase all traces of his face from the world and went slice happy on my face when they attacked me. I hope you're not easily disturbed. I apologize, the Sandaime said. Have you considered having a skin graft or a medic look at it? I believe that some, if not all, of the scarring may be eliminated. A medic did look at it when they were doing their best to heal my eyes, Kashu stated. They claimed that something was soaked into the blades to exacerbate the wounds. They claimed that time was the only thing that could possibly heal it. My mother has suggested that I get a tattoo over them, but she wanted me to wait until I'm a teenager because she said the tattoo might become distorted when my baby fat leaves my face, though I'm likely to look foolish. I think I might do it. He tapped the symbol on his chest before raising his face mask, saying, it's kind of the clan symbol I am going to use to honor my birth parents as well as my adopted mother and my new clan. If it's okay with you, could you tell me the names of your birth parents? The Sandaime asked. If it's okay with you, I would prefer not to tell you because I only know you from what my mother has told me, and the fact that our clan was attacked inside the village and no one from outside the clan came to their defense indicates to me one of two things. Either Konoha's ninja are bad, or they had assistance from someone inside the city, and if the latter, I would prefer not to warn whoever it was that attacked me and destroyed my birth parents. I will do everything in my power to protect my mother and both of my Ni-sans because information is power and the people who destroyed the Uchiha clan could use it to find allies to complete the job. According to the Sandaime, I see I could order you to tell me. Kashu responded, you could, but could you answer me something? Are the men with the mask and the kanji for nei or ninja? With haste, the Sandaime replied, no. Before the sound of metal striking something caused everyone to turn to the corner of the room, Kashu said. Good. Another Kashu stood, and another figure slumped to the floor. As he picked up the head and revealed to everyone that the man had a mask with the kanji for NE on it, the Kashu who had been standing in front of the Sandaime melted into a pool of water, and the one in the corner who they could see was holding a metal clipboard said, I knocked him out so you can have your men interrogate this man and find out who he is and who are his allies. Makoto remarked, Kashu, why did you attack him? He has a number of poison weapons up his sleeve, Kashu stated. When he was waiting in the hallway in disguise as a doctor, I could smell the poison on them. The other 3 men who changed out with him and had been observing us since we arrived here this morning were also picked up by me. I am compelled to assume that they were waiting for you to return so they could kill you and maybe me when you went into the bathroom. The Sandaime probably would have ambushed you if he hadn't been present when you left. In order to divert his attention, I hurriedly got a drink of water, made a Mizubunshin, had it return, and started exercising. I then changed into a nurse and grabbed a clipboard from the patient room across the hall. I returned to speak to him quietly about the patient, just like a doctor and nurse would, until he relaxed by concentrating on my clone. Fortunately for me, he didn't know enough about anatomy to recognize my act, and I knew enough to pretend what I was saying. Then, as he dropped the clipboard, I struck him as hard as I could across the back of his head to knock him out. Confused, Sasuke asked, what's going on, as he glanced around. Makoto remarked, I can assure you that it wasn't actually Itachi, even though the Sandaime told us what you saw and experienced when a group of masked men wearing the same mask as the man on the ground attacked our clan. Itachi, who is currently in the intensive care unit, was with me to protect me. He was impersonated. They are the actual murderers of our clan. Though we have no idea who they are. One of them was also the one who impersonated Itachi. According to Sasuke, but Ni-san Sharingan. I know it's difficult to believe, Sasuke, but let me ask you a question. Makoto said I was informed that you spotted Itachi standing over the bodies of your father and me. How could I be both here and dead? After giving it some thought, Makoto remarked, you were in a genjutsu, son, while Itachi and I were hiding in the underground chamber beneath the Uchiha shrine. Someone somehow used genjutsu on you. Sasuke opened his eyes and replied, Itachi, I mean the guy who pretended to be Ni-san, was telling me to look up the secret of the Magnakyu Sharingan in the underground chamber under the shrine. Makoto sighed and said, they must have been hoping that you would open the chamber to get to Itachi and me before killing you. As she pondered, or they were after the secret of the Magnakyu Sharingan themselves. Everyone stared at Kashu as he sat on the man's back, who now had both his hands and his feet bound behind his back, before he said, "So Konoha ninja suck huh?" The Sandaime questioned, "What makes you say that? Aside from the fact that you are supposed to be the strongest ninja in the village and you were unable to spot me or this guy using a henge, or that I knocked this guy out a few minutes ago and you didn't have someone more experienced than an 8-year-old kid watching over him or come take him away for investigation," Kashu stated. "It seems as though you're attempting to give him an opportunity to get away. Are you suggesting I was involved in the Uchiha clan massacre?" asked the Sandaime. "No, but both my mother and I knew you lied last night about knowing who these men were," Kashu said. "They would try to attack us here in the hospital, where you should have had someone stationed on us as a precaution of someone coming to finish what they started, but no protection has been sent, and your lack of reaction to the fact that this guy the first captured in," she told me, adding, "I think you probably had a reason to lie to keep us safe from whoever they are." He raised his hand, chopped on the back of the guy's head, and said, "He was waking up. It is impossible to deceive me because I am mostly blind and can hear people's heartbeats and body reactions. The fact that this man was waking up while feigning to be unconscious further supports this. Now give me a sincere response, and I'll believe you. Were you involved in the massacre of our clan?" When the Sandaime noticed that every Uchiha in the room was staring at him, he scowled and said, "No." According to Kashu, "Do you know who was—" "No," the Sandaime said. "Nice try," Kashu remarked. "I know you lied, but you can't control your body and heartbeat simultaneously. I'll stop asking questions if you answer this honestly, because it wouldn't be prudent to lie at this time. Are you lying to protect us or to protect the people who killed our clan?" "And why should I sit here to be questioned by a child?" asked the Sandaime. "Because I know something you're interested in," Kashu said. "The only person who is aware of Mito Senju's legacy is me. Makoto doesn't understand what I mean because I met him before we met. You'll need to gain my trust, which I don't currently have, if you want to know where he is." The Sandaime said, "How do you know about that?" As his eyes widened, "Where is he?" Makoto scowled and closed her eyes as she said, "Tell me. You show me yours, and I'll show you mine." Kashu said, "The legacy of Mito is alive. I owe him for saving my life, and I am too honorable to tell an enemy his secret since this is the third time I have had to do this. I currently view you as an enemy," he said, chopping the man's neck once more, "and you still haven't called someone to come and arrest him." The Sandaime frowned and looked at the man and said, "I think I know who it is that attacked your clan, or at least who they are pretending to be. If it is who I think is involved, he is too well connected to the right people to just come out and accuse of being involved. If I were to tell who he is, then I would not only be putting you and your clan at risk but also Konoha, since the man knows too many of Konoha's secrets. Makoto and Itachi testimony won't be enough to prove that he was involved. He can just claim those men who did it are rogues, since I ordered him to disband this group years ago. They are known at Root. At one time they were another set of Anbu back during the war. After the war one had them disbanded, and until I heard Makoto's statement I had believed they had been. I have no proof that Root is being operated by the man I believe is involved. I also know that I won't get anything out of that man because he has a poison tooth he will take as soon as he wakes up, long enough to which will also activate the moment anyone tries to remove it, and he has a seal that prevents anyone from reading his mind. Also, all I can do now is investigate and try to gather more info while having someone watch the man I suspect is involved." "Is he speaking the truth, little one?" Makoto inquired. Kashu turned to his right and remarked, "Yes, but there is something strange going on here." The Sandaime inquired, "What's strange?" Kashu continued, "There's someone else here. Or at least was a moment ago. I couldn't see him, but I could hear his heartbeat and could feel his chakra. He was in the roof a moment and then moved into the wall here, but when I looked at the wall he merged with the floor and moved with the floor away. He came in following you and Sasuke and took position in the roof. At first I thought he might have been a security detail you had on Sasuke or your own personal guard, but before you spoke about these Root you glanced around the room making sure no one was spying if he was with you, though you would have had him check the area for you or sent him away, and yet you didn't, so I can only assume he wasn't with you." "Are you sure?" the Sandaime asked with a frown. Makoto responded, "Hokage-sama, Kashu may be young, but if he says he detected someone, then I'm willing to risk my life and my children on his word. It is next to impossible with the training we have put him through for anyone to get closer than 100 yards of him without him detecting them, and it's to the point it's all instinctive now." The Sandaime clenched his teeth and said, "I see this as most disturbing. I'll have that investigated along with following all I can about Root and put the man I suspect under investigation, but until I can prove he is involved and this isn't someone trying to frame Root to distract us like they did young Sasuke by impersonating Itachi, I ask that you all keep quiet about what you know now. We have a deal. Where is the Senju legacy?" Kashu said, "Very well. This might sound strange, but the legacy told me that he met his father and mother who was sealed inside of him along with the Senju legacy, and they're teaching him their skills. He has found aid from another who saved him from those who disregarded some law you made, but who it is I don't know. I don't even know what the law was or what the legacy really is. I just know that he came to me where I live and he said he wanted to speak to me since I was the first friend he had his age, and when I told him about the plan for me to join the academy if I ever was able to overcome my handicap so that I can become a ninja, he wanted to show he supported and believed in me, so he gave me what I just told you so I could bribe you in exchange for agreeing to let me join the academy. While I still want to go to the academy, I feel protecting my family is more important, and the only way I can do that is by knowing if I have to protect them from you as well as whoever these root or that is all I have. As he lowered his head, Makoto remarked, "But how did he find you, Kashu?" As the Sandame scowled. According to Kashu, he told me that he saw you arrive when he went to look for supplies to help stop my injuries and saw you take me away. He said he came to Konoha and found you and followed you one day when you came to where I lived. Makoto replied, "I see," he reflected, "Kushina and Minato must have helped come up with that lie. It's too well thought out." Before the sound of metal hitting metal could be heard, everyone's attention was captured by the sound of a kunai pulsing through the air. All eyes were on Kashu, who was holding the metal clipboard once more, but this time it had a kunai protruding through it. "What the hell, Sasuke? That could have hit me," Kashu said. Sasuke replied, "You have to ask what that man is responsible for the death of my clan." The next instant, Sasuke was forced to rest his head on Kashu's shoulder while Kashu's fist was in his stomach, making him double over. The Sandame thought, "That was almost Chunin speed. Just how good are you, Kashu?" and raised an eyebrow. Kashu said, "Sasuke, stop being a selfish idiot. You think you're the only one hurting. Look at mother. Think about Itachi Ni-san, who is in ICU right now. Don't you think they're hurting, that they want to see those men brought to justice and see them pay?" "But I said justice, Sasuke, not vengeance. You don't know me, but the blood that is in your body is in mine. I am your brother. I may not have known the clan as you did, but I do know the loss of not having your family. I know the pain of wanting to make those who hurt them and you pay. But mother taught me the difference between justice and vengeance. The Uchiha clan was the police force of Konoha. They were the protectors of Konoha and were the ones who brought the guilty to justice. Are you going to destroy everything the Uchiha clan stood for and become an avenger, or are you going to become justice? They say justice is blind. If so, I think I'm 2 steps ahead of you in bringing the honor of our clan back. The first is I am blind as justice. The second is I just saved you from becoming a murdering avenger. However, that moment of vengeance from you has allowed the prisoner to escape." Everyone looked to see that the root ninja had vanished. Growling, Sasuke uttered, "Why did you let him go, you?" "Because I would rather let him go for now and catch him later than force mother to cry because she saw her children becoming monsters and demons. If you want to become a monster or demon of vengeance, then go ahead, Sasuke. Do your worst, but I'll become something more powerful, a devil of justice, and beat your ass into submission to stop you from hurting the innocent. So avenger, what will you do? Will you become a demon and hurt everyone in your path for revenge, including our family murderer?" Kashu grabbed Sasuke by the neck, lifting him off the ground and choking him slightly. After putting them on, Kashu said, "Mother, I'm going to go grab something to eat and then head back to my home to sleep. I can't sleep here. After I found your house, I found $20 on the dresser besides a picture of you and Itachi Ni-san holding a baby. I figure was Sasuke. I took the money in case I needed to find you." "All right, lil one, just be careful," Makoto said, nodding. Kashu responded, "I will, mother." And Sasuke, "I'm sorry. I've been waiting to meet our clan for 3 years, and the day I was supposed to meet them was the day they were killed. I may not have known them personally, but Ni-san and mother had been telling me about them, so I know of them and will miss that I never got a chance to meet and know them. If it helps, I was the one who found where mother and Ni-san was hiding all this time. Goodbye." As he approached the window and opened it. "What are you doing?" asked the Sandame as he flipped out the window backwards. Kashu turned around and uttered the words, "Getting lost on the road of life." When Kashu grabbed a pole used for the banner to announce the hospital location during the Chunin exam, the Sandame ran to the window, looked out, and blinked. He flipped the pole over a few times before launching himself into the air and landing on a telephone wire. He then slid across the cable until he reached the telephone pole, where he slipped between the wires and slid down the pole while using chakra to hold on, but not enough to actually do more than barely stick. A few children applauded him as he hit the ground, and Kashu turned to face them before bowing and saying, "Thank you. Thank you. Be sure to catch my next performance, CYA." He then started to head toward town. "Please don't become an avenger. I don't want to lose my children. Also, please don't." Makoto was whispering repeatedly while holding Sasuke in her arms when the Sandame turned back to face her. After letting out a sigh and glancing at the ninja wire that had been used to restrain the prisoner, the Sandame scowled before he quietly left. "Anbu," he said as soon as the Sandame entered his office. The Sandame declared, I want the entire village to come to the Hokage Tower in an hour. As 4 men wearing animal masks materialized, I must make a significant announcement. Proceed. A female voice said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, sir, are you okay?" As Kashu collapsed to his knees while strolling through the village, water flying where his head had been just a moment before you weren't hit by the filthy water. Dusting his knees, Kashu got to his feet and said, "No, Ms. I managed to duck under it in time. No harm done," he said, turning to face the individual whose voice it was. "Are you sure, sir?" the woman asked. "Yes, I'm fine," Kashu said, "but could you please tell me what was in that water? It had the scent of lemon, water, oil, and blood." "Well, that's pretty much what it was," the woman said. "Dad had to go to the hospital for stitches after he cut his finger while sharpening some of the weapons in our family business. Dad had been sharpening the weapons and spilled the oil when he cut himself, so I was cleaning up the blood off the floor and the mess from the oil. How did you know what was in it, though? Are you an Inuzuka? The water is too contaminated for you to have seen the blood?" "No, I'm not an Inuzuka," Kashu stated. "Ms. Kashu Uchiha is my name." "Uchiha," said the woman. "You don't look like them either. You're not trying to take credit for their name, are you?" The final line reads accusingly. "I thought that Sasuke Kid was the only Uchiha." Kashu responded, "No, but it seems you lack manners because I was gracious enough to offer my name when you were supposed to give me yours. Despite your doubts, since I haven't eaten since last night, I must go in order to find a good place to eat and more amiable company. Good day, Ms." he said as he turned to leave. When the girl ran over to Kashu, the female voice said, "Wait, Kashu, was it?" Kashu had only gone a few feet. "Yes, Ms." said Kashu. "My name is Tenten," the woman said. "Uchiha-sama is not a last name in my family." "It's nice to meet you, Tenten, but I must insist that you call me just Kashu." Kashu said, "I would rather not act like I have a stick up my ass and earn respect rather than have it bestowed upon me because of my family, despite the fact that my parents and big brother insisted on teaching me appropriate respect." As an Anbu emerged on the roof and used a sound-amplifying jutsu to say, "Attention everyone," Tenten grinned a little. "In less than an hour, there will be a village-wide meeting in front of the Hokage Tower. The Hokage has stated that he wants the entire village to be present, so please make sure to arrive in an orderly fashion before he quietly leaves." After looking up, Tenten turned back to face Kashu, who was still hunched over with both hands over his ears. When Tenten noticed blood on his hands, her eyes widened and she exclaimed, "Kashu, Kashu!" But Kashu remained motionless. Although Kashu was stumbling as he walked, Tenten scowled, swiftly took his hand, and started to guide him toward her family's store. Tenten pursed her lips and pushed him into the chair. As soon as they arrived at the store, Kashu, who was still holding his ears, remained motionless. She then hurried to get a first aid kit and muttered, "Just hold on. Kashu, move your hands. Shit, you're really deaf right now, aren't you?" she said. After she got back, she grabbed Kashu's glasses and took them off, thinking, "Stupid Anbu ruptured your eardrums." She froze when she saw the pale blue eyes and thought, "Holy shit, he's blind and now deaf." It makes sense why he mentioned smell and the reasons behind his hearing impairment. In order to help him move around, he needs to send chakra to his ears to strengthen them, as we read in the academy. After losing his hearing, Kashu was terrified and thought, "What the hell's going on?" as he felt someone dragging him. "My ears hurt." He felt his glasses fall off as he was pushed into a chair, and he thought, no choice, he sent chakra to his eyes and thought, Sharingan. Tenten watched as the Sharingan came to life and his eyes turned red. "Tenten, right, I can't hear you right now. Move your head, yes or no." "Listen. As you saw, I'm normally blind," Kashu said, noticing Tenten holding the first aid kit and the bandages. "Due to a pair of ruptured eardrums, I am currently deaf as well, though I don't want to go into that right now. Fortunately, I am able to heal my ears, but not in this village. There must be almost total silence where I am. I have to return home, but I don't have enough chakra to see all the way there with my Sharingan on to get there and heal. I need your assistance. Will you assist me?" Kashu remarked, "I can't read lips," as Tenten moved her lips. "It was on my list of things to do, but I can't read lips, and I can't go to the hospital because my mother was attacked earlier today in front of the hospital's Hokage, and someone tried to kill her. My brother and mother are both at the hospital watching over my other brother, who is in the intensive care unit, in case they try again. Part of the purpose of the meeting is to find more Uchiha survivors, but I am unable to go there because of the noise and the danger, so I would appreciate your assistance." "Thank you," Kashu said as Tenten nodded her head slowly. "Do you know the location of the Uchiha district? If so, please hold my hand and lead me there. In order to avoid passing I will need to cut off my chakra to my eyes, which will render me totally deaf and blind. I'm entrusting you with my life. You can't tell anyone about my weakness because I don't want anyone to know either. I'm going to turn off my Shurinen and put my glasses back on. Remove my glasses when we arrive in the Uchiha district so I can send them a chakra. As he put on his glasses, he said, "Do you understand?" "Good, thank you." Tenten was taken aback by what she had just heard and thought, "I got to help him, and he is trusting me with his life. As a future kunoichi, it is my responsibility to assist him." She got up, gathered a few kunais, and placed them in her weapon pouch before taking Kashu's hand and guiding him out of the store. She swiftly closed the store before heading toward the Uchiha district. After 10 minutes, they arrived. Tenten took off his glasses, and Kashu hurriedly glanced around before remarking, "Good, you can now see that shrine at the very end. Proceed in its direction, but after you pass the final house, you will notice a path on the right that leads back into the woods." He put his glasses back on and said, "Go toward the woods and let me know when we get there." Tenten looked around anxiously and started to lead him. Tenten said, "Good, we're almost there." After removing his glasses once more as they reached the edge of the woods, a small hill will appear about 300 yards straight ahead. When it does, you should turn right to avoid it. There is a lone tombstone in a clearing on the hill's backside. Tell me when we arrive, he said, putting on his glasses once more. Tenten thought, where is his home? After 10 minutes of seeing the tombstone, why have we come here? Tenten removed Kashu's glasses once more as they approached the tombstone, and Kashu said, "Thank you, Tenten. I owe you money since you have saved me and helped me in my time of need. I will show you where I live, but you are not allowed to tell anyone about it." You are looking around, confused, as if you were wondering where I live. As he strode directly toward the hill away from the tombstone, Tenten watched in disbelief as he vanished, and a moment later, Kashu's head emerged from the wall and uttered, "Genjutsu. That tombstone is actually a seal ray that cast a genjutsu to hide the entrance to my home, one that not even the Sharingan or Byakugan can see through. Come." Tenten bit her lip, went to the door, and closed her eyes. As she entered, when she opened them, she discovered that she was in a tunnel and that Kashu was moving down it with both hands on the walls. No wonder there are survivors, she thought as she started to follow him, not wanting to get lost or abandoned. This must have been where they were hiding. After a few minutes, Tenten's eyes widened upon seeing the cavern and exclaimed, "It's beautiful." As she gazed around in wonder, she said, "He lives here." Tenten sprinted up and assisted Kashu in closing his eyes as he staggered toward the house. As they entered the house, Tenten noticed multiple photos of a black woman and occasionally a black boy with blonde hair and whiskers on his face. Tenten was startled when Kashu approached a black pool on the floor, lay down in it, and was partially submerged in water. A red-haired woman then emerged in a puff of smoke, but she put her fingers to her lips and made a come motion with them. Tenten nods and follows the woman, who says, "Thank you for doing that." Tenten, was your name, right? They cross a small stream after leaving the house. "Your father, is his name Dustin?" "Okay, I know your father," the red-haired woman said after Tenten nodded. "I knew your mother, too. I'm running out of time, so after I vanish in a few minutes, I want you to return to the village the way you came. And don't tell anyone about what you saw or heard here. However, I would like you to deliver a message to your father on my behalf." According to Tenten, "Why should I? Who are you?" "If you will give your father this message, he can tell you who I am," the woman said. "Orange, which is made up of red and yellow, is known as the spiraling maelstrom of wave and wind. Your father is probably worried about you right now, but if you tell him that message, he won't be upset or anything. You got that? Good. Tell me 5 times so I know you truly understood. Simply convey that message to him and proceed as usual. He'll know what that means. Go now, but make sure not to tell anyone." "But why don't you tell him?" Tenten turned. "Who are you? Why should I do this?" As she ran her hand through Tenten's face, she said, "Because you don't want to piss off a ghost." Tenten screamed and went pale before fleeing. The woman vanished in smoke after Tenten left. Kashu's eyes were closed in the water, and he was covered in a thin layer of red chakra inside the cabin. Tenten's nerves had temporarily subsided by the time she returned to the village, and she placed a hand on her chest, took a deep breath, and thought, "A ghost? It explains why she looked like a son of a Bunshina. Wait. Smoke. I fell for an academy jutsu trick." As she hurried toward the Hokage tower, she exclaimed, "Just who the hell was that lady, and where is everyone?" "Oh yeah, the meeting. People of Konoha, I know many of you are wondering what I have called this meeting about. I have called it for several reasons. The first is that new information has come to light about the Uchiha massacre, as well as a couple of other survivors have been found," the Sandaime Hokage said, utilizing a voice projection jutsu, as she arrived on the Hokage tower's balcony. Murmurs erupted at this point, and the Sandaime they had settled down to say, "Now from the survivor we have found out that it was not actually Itachi Uchiha who massacred the clan. Someone had cast a genjutsu on Sasuke to make him believe it was Itachi while also trying to trick him into opening the secret entrance to the place the rest of the survivors of the Uchiha clan had went during the attack on Their clan when Their injuries became too much to continue. The survivors are Makoto Uchiha, Uchiha Itachi himself, as well as the adopted son of Makoto Uchiha, Kashu Uchiha. Once more, Tenten heard murmurs, and he thought, so everything was true. Now I know you are all wondering who is responsible for the Uchiha massacre, the Sandaime said, raising his hand. When I spoke with Makoto, she told me it was multiple people, not just one. Because these individuals have already deceived us into thinking Itachi was guilty when he was just another victim, I am wary of assuming that these men are who they seem to be. In order for us to look into this group and determine whether it was actually them or if someone was impersonating them, I will not reveal who they were. The fact that this group was able to organize, train, and attack a bloodline clan is another reason I do this. One of our adversaries may be preparing for war with this action, and they may be attempting to discredit us by framing devoted allies. In order to discuss strategies for preparing Konoha for the worst-case scenario, I intend to meet with the Ninja Council and all of the clan heads. I'm restricting the Civilian Council's authority until we can identify the real culprit. Hamaru and Kaharu, you are not permitted to reach any agreements with the council, but you will meet and listen to them to check if it will be implemented. You will bring me a list of everything that is important, and I will ignore it. You and the Civilian Council will serve as my liaison, but your only responsibility will be to maintain the morale of the populace. You won't participate in any of the village's military activities. Hamaru replied, why are you limiting our aid at a time like this, Hiruzen? Take a look at what has transpired and ask me that question once more, the Sandaime said. Sincerely, can you assure me that you and Kaharu will be able to defend yourselves against a group of adversaries who managed to almost massacre the entire Uchiha clan? For more than a decade, neither of you has been on anything other than a political mission. An enemy will be less likely to try to capture you both in order to obtain information about our plans or investigation if you restrict your involvement to the civilian portion of the village. Even though I haven't been on any missions in a while, I demonstrated that I was still one of the village's strongest ninjas after retiring when I managed to injure Kyuubi and drive it out of the area until the Yondaime came to defeat it. Are you both able to make such a claim? No, Hiruzen, Kaharu said. You raise a good point about what will occur once the investigation is finished. I want both of you to retire and pass on the title of elder after the upcoming Chunin exams that will be here in a year, the Sandaime said, glancing at the Hokage monument. I'll give you a list of potential interview subjects. You'll then report back to me with your findings, and I'll use that information to decide who will be the next elders. With your assistance, I will then impart the necessary knowledge to them until the Chunin exams return to Konoha for a second time. I'll be stepping down as Hokage once more when that occurs, and a replacement will be chosen. Danzo, you are not eligible for either the elder or Hokage positions because you haven't been on a mission for as long as the elders or I have, and you've lost your arm's mobility and your eye. In fact, I'm currently issuing a law because I see how the older generation needs to start passing on the will of fire to the next generation. Every elder and member of the Ninja Council needs to be able to pass a physical and be able to go on any mission at any time. Regardless of rank, any member of the Ninja Council who does not fulfill these criteria will be forced to resign and be replaced by someone who does, with the exception of Kaharu and Hamaru, who have already been informed that they will be replaced without warning. This will take effect right away. Danzo replied, why are you doing this, Hiruzen? Why are you cutting the power to the council and replacing the elders and kicking me off the council? The Sandaime said, you want to know? Find someone had to have helped the enemy that attacked the Uchiha clan by giving them information on our patrol routes, as well be able to keep all the ninja of our village from investigating the battles in the Uchiha district. While I don't know who it was, I do know only a handful of people had access to that information or power. You are my number one suspect since it was your former Anbu unit named Root that was being impersonated, which I ordered disbanded years ago, and since I saw a Root member earlier today who tried to assassinate Uchiha Makoto in the hospital before he escaped, I have no choice but to put you under investigation as well as limit your access to village secrets, which is another reason why I am forcing Kaharu and Hamaru to retire, since you three are very close to each other. Even closer to each other than both my former teammates and I am, and now, everyone in the village knows that you are the one I am investigating and will be watching you. Danzo stated, you have no proof I am in any way involved. You said it yourself I could be getting impersonated. Hiruzen replied, possibly, but you know the funny thing about rats, Danzo, they always return to their nest when they're in danger. Boom! Danzo turned to face the enormous fireball that was frightening many people in the distance. He thought, no, it can't be. His eyes widened, then rolled in the back of his head as Hiruzen appeared behind him and struck him in the back of the neck. The Sandaime commanded, Anbu, Take Danzo to Ibiki for interrogation and check the site of the explosion to see if any root members survived it. He then retreated to the balcony, let loose his ki, and uttered the words, "Silence." The Sandame responded by saying, "Now that I have your attention I will explain what is going on." While the root operative today did escape, he didn't escape before I was able to place a tracking tag on him. I then had a tracking unit of Anbu follow him back to root headquarters, where the Anbu then contacted Inoichi Yamanaka, who took control of a root agent and infiltrated the base and set explosives that would go off on my signal, which you all just saw. Danzo and Root were responsible for the Uchiha massacre. I had to draw everyone's attention here in order to keep innocents from being caught in the blast that killed those traitors. Everything I said is true. Kaharu and Hamaru, you both are still carry out your orders and prepare to start teaching your successors. Now that the guilty has been caught and punished, it is time for Konoha to stand back up and start moving forward to show why we are the strongest village in the world as well as who we are dismissed. The Sandame asked, "So was everything taken care of?" as he entered his office and saw Inoichi standing there. According to Inoichi, yes, the operation went down as planned. However, I don't think that all of the root members were killed. I was honestly expecting more men than I saw. The Sandame responded, "I see. We will just hope that by cutting off the head as we have that the body will soon die. If that is all, you're dismissed." Inoichi shushes away after nodding. Tenten was looking around as the people started to leave when someone put their hand on her shoulder and asked, "Where have you been, young lady?" Tenten jumped in terror for a second, then turned and said, "Don't scare me like that, daddy." Dustin was staring at his child and said, "Sorry, you should be more alert to your surroundings, but you still haven't answered my question. Where have you been? I came back to the shop and found it locked up and figured you were already here, but when I got here I looked around and you weren't here. I also saw you arrive just as the Sandame stepped out. Now where were you?" Tenten replied, I had to help someone home that got injured, and then this lady with red hair gave me a message to give to you, daddy. She said, yellow and red make orange, called the spiraling maelstrom of wave and wind. She also told me to tell you the usual." Tenten, what did this woman look like? Dustin asked, his eyes widening as he went pale. Tenten continued, "Well, she had red hair and," as she started to describe the woman and said, "And when I asked her why I should tell you that, she told me I shouldn't anger Ghost before she had her hand pass right through my face. At the time I was scared, but I remember after I ran away that she arrived in a puff of smoke and realized that she was using a bunchen to distract me, probably so she could help the kid who was hurt." "I see. Well, we should get back to the shop. Come on," Dustin said as he began to guide her out. With a glance at her father, Tenten questioned, "But who was the lady?" As Dustin continued to walk, he said, "A ghost." His face was amused. Tenten blushed and said, "That's not funny." She heard her father laughing and realized he had deceived her. "But it might be the truth. I know Kushina's supposed to be dead, so how is she alive?" Dustin, who was laughing, pondered. When Danzo woke up that night and discovered he was in a cell, he remarked, "So it has come to this." Hiruzen Sarutobi's voice said, "Yes, it has, my old friend." With a frown, Danzo turned and asked, "Why?" Hiruzen stated, "You messed up. You left some Uchiha alive and they spoke to freely about who was responsible for the Uchiha massacre. Also, it was stupid of you to make a second attempt on them, especially in the public eye like you did." With a frown, Danzo uttered, "So what now?" Hiruzen continued, "This prison was once the home of all the worst criminals of our village. Today they all died in the explosion. Now this is your new base of operation. Your job is to continue your duties to protect Konoha outside of the village, but you are to leave the Uchihas alone. I do not want any contact with them, especially the adopted son of Makoto Uchiha. There's something about him, I don't know what it is, but he's more than he appears to be. He was the one who was able to detect your assassin and stop him, while also smart enough to call me out in a way I was forced to reveal your group. He's also damn near impossible to lie to. Had I not used my wording carefully, then I would have been exposed as being the one who ordered the Uchiha massacre." Danzo replied, "Should I make plans to take the boy out?" Hiruzen replied, "No, the boy is the only link I have to the Yondaime's legacy. I must keep him happy and make him loyal to me in order to find out where the Yondaime's son is, especially with the fact Minato and Kushina sealed themselves in the seal with the Kyuubi and are training their son." "I see, so I take it everyone here are loyal to me," Danzo said, his eyes widening. Hiruzen replied, "Yes, all the guards and the prisoners have been switched with root members and the political prisoners were moved elsewhere. You must rise from the ashes like a phoenix and carry out your duties to protect Konoha no matter the cost." When the cell door opened, Hiruzen grabbed Danzo by the neck and said, "Make sure you do not screw up again or I won't knock you out, I will kill you." Danzo shushined away, saying, "Very well, my old friend." Danzo looked at him and thought, You are the light of the village while I am the shadow. That was the orders of the Nidame all those years ago. The act of dispelling root was to keep the Yondaime from finding out about us. His death was both the best and worst thing that could have happened to Konoha. He said, ROOT. As all of the guards and prisoners stood at attention, Danzo remarked, we have much work to do. When Kashu opened his eyes and sat up the following day, he was still submerged in the water. After a short while, the cabin door opened, and Makoto entered. He blinked and asked, why are you lying in the pool, Kashu? Kashu stated, I got careless. I was speaking with a girl about my age named Tenten, and we sort of started off on the wrong foot because she didn't believe me when I said I was a Uchiha at first, but then as I started to leave she stopped me and tried to start over. I didn't trust her, so I decided to listen to her heartbeat and enhanced my hearing enough to hear it when this Anbu appeared and used a sound amplifying jutsu to say something. With a wince, Makoto remarked, busted your eardrums again, huh? Kashu looked up and replied, yeah, both of them, and since I was in the middle of a crowd I couldn't use my other vision, but Tenten helped me to her family shop and I had to reveal my Sharingan to her and I got her to help me back here. I know I wasn't supposed to bring anyone here, but I didn't have enough chakra to use my eyes all the way here and I didn't want to send the wrong message and get attacked using my other vision while I was weakened, so I had to trust her. Mom seems to know her somehow, and after I got here she appeared and took Tenten outside and sent her away. I don't know what was said, but Tenten left quickly. Makoto sighed. It couldn't be helped, I guess. Just be careful who you bring here, because even though Danzo been arrested and Root was destroyed yesterday by the Sandame, others could still try and target our clan or us individually. Blinking, Kashu said, wait, back up, what happened yesterday? Kashu scowled and remarked, I see. I wonder what caused him to change his mind. He was pretty adamant about not revealing that info. Makoto started to describe what had transpired at the town meeting. I didn't realize it before, but you're too damn mature for your age, son. Makoto started to speak, but she stopped when she saw Kashu. What 8-year-old knows the word adamant and actually knows how to use it, she said. According to Kashu, and something wrong with that. Makoto said, never mind, I came to get you to enter you into the academy. I have Sasuke returning to the academy today as well, while shaking her head. How's Itachi ni-san? Inquired Kashu. Makoto stated, better. The doctors said he should awaken today and be able to be moved out to the floor probably today or tomorrow, but he will still have to stay in the hospital for the rest of the week just to make sure he healed right. Makoto nods and gets up. And why did you sleep in your cloths? I know the seals around that pool make it where the water won't ever get cold, but still, sleeping in wet cloths isn't good for you. Makoto walked over to the pantry and refrigerator and scowled as she started to gather items to begin preparing breakfast, thinking, I need to restock his supplies here. Kashu sulked and said, yes, mother. He then went to get a change of clothes and made his way to the restroom. After discovering a basic breakfast consisting of rice and water, Kashu grinned and remarked, I missed you, mother. Makoto replied, and I missed you as well. Little one, eat up and we will go to the academy. Kashu responded, what are we going to do now, mother? I mean the living arrangements. Makoto turned his face away and said, you're going to stay here? I would bring Sasuke here, or have you move in with him after we got the clan houses cleaned up, but Sasuke got a fan club that is being very pushy. I don't want them following him here or harassing you until you get used to being around people. I know you can lose them, but still I don't want to put you or your brother through more than you both have been already. Kashu nods as he says, mother, I know you wanted me and Sasuke to be close and be in the same class, but I don't think that's a good idea anymore. Sasuke and I got off on the wrong foot because of what happened, and I can already tell he and I will most likely have a few problems with not only me being your son but also because of how I dealt with that root ninja. Makoto glanced down at the table and replied, I know I am worried about that also. I just didn't want to say anything unless you did, since I wish for you both to be together, but since you asked I'll see if I can't get you added to the class a year older than his class. Grinning, Kashu said, thanks, mother. Upon noticing his face, Makoto shed a tear and hurried around the table to embrace him, saying, please, little one, don't cut your face anymore, heal your wounds, and if people find out who you are, screw them. I don't want to see my beautiful children suffer anymore. When he heard her heartbeat, Kashu closed his eyes and said, yes, mother. Ah, Uchiha-sama, it's good to see you. Are you here about your son Sasuke? The secretary said as Makoto and Kashu entered the academy office an hour later. Makoto replied, no, I'm here to get my adopted son Kashu registered to start here. I was hoping to get him added to the class a year higher than Sasuke class. Is there a reason he is wearing sunglasses? The secretary asked, glancing at Kashu. Kashu said, excuse me, miss, I apologize for interrupting, but when was the last time you had a checkup for your health? Before Makoto could say anything more. Are you threatening me, child? The secretary asked, her eyes widening. Kashu responded, No miss, I just noticed that your heartbeat has an irregular rhythm to it, the type usually caused by high blood pressure. I thought that you might want to have that checked out before it causes permanent damage or death. Makoto looked at the secretary with a sad grin and replied, my stepson Kashu was blinded by bandits when he was younger. Since there is so many people who try to steal my clan's bloodline, the fear of us being blinded is a real possibility, so with Kashu help we create a whole new style in jutsu to use the other senses instead of sight. If he says he detects a problem like that, then he is telling the truth and you should see a doctor, miss. Also, if you're worried about his blindness being a problem, then I can tell you that Kashu here saved my life when a member of Rude tried to assassinate me and my other son Itachi in the hospital. I would not have him here if I was not sure that he was ready and able to perform the duties that he needs to. After giving Kashu a quick glance, the secretary took out a few forms and told him, please fill out these forms. If you can fill these out, then I will allow you to enter. Excuse me, miss, but I'm not a kunoichi, so I won't need these forms since this is the registration for the flower pressing and tea ceremony classes, Naruto said after taking the forms from the secretary's hands with a smile and a pen. You passed my test. Had you filled it out, I would have had to decline you. Here are the real forms, the secretary said with a smile. Thank you, miss. Kashu grinned as he took the appropriate forms and completed them. Makoto asked, what room is he to be in, after he finished? The secretary replied, well, we will start off with the class you requested, but he will have to be tested by the instructor of the class, and if he is not up to standards, then we will have to go back a grade until we find his appropriate level. Now, if you both will follow me, I'll take you to Mr. Wasaba class. 5 minutes later, the secretary and the two Uchiha were waiting for room 219's door to open. A man in his mid-20s with brown eyes and hair stood there when the door opened and said, hello Ms. Sasuke, what can I do for you today? And you as well, Uchiha-sama. The presently identified Ms. Sasuke stated, this is Kashu Uchiha, the adopted son of Uchiha-sama here. She has brought him here to join the academy and has asked that he be allowed to join your level of students. Both have been informed, since he's never attended the academy, that he will have to have an evaluation test to see if he is actually qualified for this class. As he stepped aside and said, class, we have a guest. This is Kashu Uchiha and he is here to join the academy and possibly join our class now. Kashu, please remove your sunglasses as we are inside and I will begin your test. Mr. Wasaba nodded and turned to face Kashu. With a nod, Kashu shuts his eyes, removes his sunglasses, and puts them on his shirt collar. This is no time for joking around. Being a shinobi is a serious matter. Mr. Wasaba scowled as he saw Kashu with his eyes closed. Open your eyes and take this test seriously, Uchiha. Kashu opened his eyes and said, it won't matter if my eyes are open or closed. Mr. Wasaba and several of the students who could see his eyes gasped as well. Wasaba glanced from Kashu to Makoto and Sasuke and said, what are your eyes? Kashu said, if you are going to inquire about my condition, then shouldn't you get the answer from the source instead of looking at the two ladies behind me for answers? Yes, I am blind in both eyes, but I have trained to overcome this obstacle. There are 22 students in this class, 14 male students and 8 females. The girl on the last seat by the window on the 4th row is named Tenten. The guy on the 2nd row near the wall is a Hyuga named Neji. The kid in the very back row with the tiny chakra reserves is named Rock Lee. There are 7 students on the front row, 6 students on the 2nd row, with most of those students being the females in the class with the exception of Tenten. There are 4 students on the 3rd row, 4 on the 4th row and only 1 on the back row, and that is Lee. There are 6 windows in this room. On my right, the 2nd window has a crack going through it while the 4th is open. Your weapon pouch is on your left side, showing your dominate throwing arm is your left, but you write with your right hand. Mr. Wasaba, you have 6 shurikens and 3 kunais in your weapon pouch, along with a note from your wife reminding you to bring home a loaf of bread and a dozen eggs on the way home. You had an apple to eat earlier today, along with some coffee with a touch of sake mixed in with it. Is that good enough to prove being blind is not going to hinder me, Mr. Wasaba? When Kashu's words shocked everyone except Makoto, Wasaba responded, no, but can you tell me how you did that? Kashu replied, I've trained to turn my weakness into my greatest strength. Now can we begin my testing to see if I am ready, please? Wasaba replied, yes. Can you tell me the names of the 5 major hidden villages, what their symbol is, as well as what the title of their leader is? Kashu stated, Iwa, Tsuchikage, 2 boulders with one sitting on top of the other, Suna, Cage, an hourglass mist, Mizukage, 4 squiggly lines half leaning, Kumo, Rakage, 2 oval clouds connected with a smaller oval floating above the lower oval and beside the upper oval, Konoha, Hokage, a leaf representing the Senju clan and the Uzumaki clan spiral in the heart of it, showing the alliance Konoha had with Whirlpool before it was destroyed. Nearly perfect, Wasaba said with a frown. What was wrong? Everything he said is true, Makoto remarked. Wasaba stated, the part about the Uzumaki clan spiral is wrong. Makoto replied, really, because according to the records my clan kept from that time, Mito Senju, wife of the Shodem Hokage, was in fact born Mito Uzumaki, and her marriage to Hashirama was the final part of the alliance that was made between Konoha and Whirlpool, since Whirlpool protected Konoha during its early days before the walls around the village and housing was created. In fact, nearly all of the seals we use today were originally created by the Uzumaki clan of Whirlpool as a gift to our village. That is why even now, years after the Whirlpool village was destroyed, we wear Their symbol on our clothing to pay tribute to them. Hokage-sama, you honor us with your presence. To what do we owe the honor of your visit? Wasaba said as a whirl of leaves caught everyone's attention and the Sandaime Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, emerged. Hiruzen said, I was interested in the test of your newest student after I had the pleasure of meeting him recently, and I wanted to see his unique skills better, so I was watching his test from my office while I took a small break. I heard what was said about the Uzumaki clan of Whirlpool, and although we don't speak about it any longer, since I felt that with the tragic loss of our ally, honoring their wishes of living in peace would be better than reminding the world about them and their tragic loss. But I will tell you what Makoto and Kashu said is true. Whirlpool was our first and our greatest ally. Sadly, the last descendant of Whirlpool disappeared a few years ago when he disappeared to be trained by friends of his family. Kashu, I know that you informed me that you encountered the Whirlpool heir since his disappearance. With everything that happened recently, I never got to tell you. If he returns, I would like you to pass a message to him that I would like to meet him so that he may claim his family belongings and heritage that I was holding until he was old enough to take care of himself. Kashu replied, if I hear from him I'll inform him, Hokage-sama, though I can't say that I will or not. Hiruzen gives a nod and turns to Wasaba. Please admit Kashu to your class. 1 have seen his skills firsthand and it appears that he is very well educated, so I believe that he is skilled enough for this class, though I thought he would be joining the class of his brother. According to Makoto, fangirls Hokage-sama. Laughing, Hiruzen remarked, I see, well, I must be getting back to my duties. Hokage-sama, a moment please, said Kashu. The answer was, yes, what is it? Kashu responded, what are the capabilities of the Kagebunshin no Jutsu? After Hiruzen blinked, Wasaba reprimanded him, saying, you shouldn't be bothering Hokage-sama about trivial matters such as that. Humor me if my guess is correct, then I believe the class is about to learn a very valuable lesson about our dear leader, said Kashu, grinning behind his mask. Why, may I ask, are you interested in a kinjutsu such as the Kagebunshin no Jutsu? Asked Hiruzen, who was attempting to ascertain the direction of this conversation. A puff of smoke next to Kashu showed up. Kashu stated, this is a Kagebunshin since I needed high chakra reserves to learn to see using Chakra Mother, and my brother Itachi thought that learning this jutsu would help to increase my chakra reserves. Now this also had a bonus of helping me learn how to read without eyes as well as other training things. Do you know how it helped increase my training, Hokage-sama? Because of the ability of a Kagebunshin to transfer its knowledge back to the original, said Hiruzen after a moment of reflection. As he turned and began to ascend the stairs to the rose, Kashu remarked, very good, Hokage-sama. Not this is the lesson I thought the entire class could learn about our leader. You are a great and wise man, Hokage-sama, but you are also human and will make mistakes like any of us can. A pupil replied, but Hokage-sama answered your question, so he didn't make a mistake. Kashu replied, yeah, he has. If he hadn't have made a mistake, he would have known that the Kagebunshin no Jutsu could have been helping him to lead Konoha better than he has, so he would have more free time to spend with the people instead of in his office, since he could be in 2 places at once as well as doing the dreaded paperwork twice as fast. Hiruzen, who shared the student's question, was frozen in place when he heard Kashu respond, no, it couldn't be that simple. Kashu stated, to err is human, to serve is an honor, to forgive is divine, to see and do nothing is a sin, and to bring justice is to be blind to the world. We all make mistakes. We have the ability to serve our village as ninja. We have the ability to seek revenge against those who would wrong us, or the ability to take the harder road and forgive them or spare them. If we sit back and do nothing, then who are we to judge them? What are you trying to say, Kashu? Inquired Hiruzen. Kashu said, the Senju clan and the Uchiha clan were once enemies. They fought each other over things they perceived as wrong when both were wrong at one point or another. Both clans were able to let go of their hatred for each other and were able to work together to form this village and serve together. Both clans could have just kept on hating each other and this village would never have been formed, which would have been a waste. The Hokage was created to bring balance to the village, to make sure the mistakes of the past were not repeated. To do so, you have to turn a blind to your personal feelings and do what's best for Konoha. Even if it means sending loyal ninja to their deaths when the rude assassin tried to kill mother at the hospital, you were not willing to risk the needs of the many for the needs of the few, and yet later that day you had Rude destroyed along with the leader of it for attacking the Uchiha clan. What I want to know is what tipped the scales of justice for you to put the people of Konoha at risk so my family could be avenged. Makoto frowned while Hiruzen looked at Kashu and said, "You are far wiser than many twice your age, Kashu. You should be very proud of your adopted son, Makoto. Since you have helped me see a mistake I have made, I will be honored to tell you the answer. It's the answer my sensei told me once. Konoha is a mighty tree. The people or the village are the leaves of the tree. Every year the leaves fall off one by one, but new leaves always replace them with the coming spring, as long as the tree still stands and as long as the roots of the village stay strong. The belief of our founders, the will of fire, is our roots. As long as we stay true to them, the tree that is Konoha will grow." Danzo and his men were a disease that threatened the tree of Konoha and stripped the branches representing your family of all but a few leaves. What tipped the scale is while many leaves died, the few that remained can and will help bring new leaves to the tree. I could not let the disease destroy another branch or risk the entire tree. I didn't do it for you or your family, I did it for the future of Konoha. I understand and thank you for humoring a humble child, Kashu said, nodding. Hiruzen responded, "Well, look at the time. I believe that I have wasted most of your class time today, Mr. Wasaba. If you will excuse me, but I must be returning to your office. Kashu, perhaps we could discuss politics and philosophy sometime. I do not see a child. When I look at you, I see a young man with a bright future who may someday surpass even an old man like me. Come by sometime for tea," as he disappeared. Wasaba looked at the clock and said, "Well, I guess the day is later than I thought it was, since we have been honored with a new student and a visit from Hokage-sama. I think you all deserve the rest of the day off, but be back here on time at 8 a.m. Dismissed." Everyone was shocked by what they had heard or seen. A number of people were staring at Kashu in amazement, admiration, or jealousy as everyone started to stand up. When Kashu reached the bottom of the stairs where Makoto was, a woman's voice said, "Wait." Makoto saw a girl wearing a Chinese-style shirt with her hair up in a pair of buns and turned to say, "Yes, may I help you?" Kashu responded, "Mother, allow me to introduce the girl I informed you about. This is Tenten." Makoto responded, "Ah, you're the young lady who helped my son in his hour of need. I must thank you for helping him. Is there anything I can do to repay you?" "Oh, I know. Why don't you come over and have dinner with us, say 6 o'clock? I would be honored, but I have to work at my family shop," Tenten said in shock. "Oh," Makoto said. "What shop is that?" According to Tenten, the Wolf Claw weapon shop. Makoto responded, "I see. Well, what time does your shop close?" According to Tenten, "We close at 6 inches. Makoto replied, "Then please extend an invitation to your family for dinner with me and my son at 7 today at Kashu home." "But mother, I thought that..." Kashu turned. Makoto stated, "The girl has shown herself trustworthy, and I think it would be a great idea for you to have a friend as lovely as Tenten here. Now I refuse to take no for an answer. Don't worry about dressing formal, just come casual." Kashu took a breath and said, "You might as well agree. It's impossible to get her to change her mind when she's like this." "Alright, but," Tenten said, biting her lip. Makoto responded, "No buts. Anything else you want to say can wait until tonight. Now I'm sorry to say, but we must get going. I want to check on Itachi at the hospital, and then I have to meet Sasuke when he gets out of class at 3. It was nice meeting you, Tenten. Come." Kashu. After they left the academy, Kashu started to follow her and inquired, "Mother, will Sasuke be there tonight?" Makoto murmured, "No, Sasuke won't go back to the Uchiha district. After what happened, he wants to stay in his apartment the Hokage gave him. I'm going to destroy the Uchiha district and rebuild it first. Until then I'll be staying with Sasuke and Itachi after he gets out of the hospital, until Itachi is back on his feet, and try to help Sasuke deal with what happened." Makoto looked at Kashu and said, "Don't worry, I'm not leaving you ever. I will still be spending time with you and staying with you some, but Sasuke needs me right now. His mind is very fragile right now." Kashu responds with a nod. "I understand, mother, and I agree, but why are you trusting Tenten and her family?" Makoto laughed to herself and said, "Let's say both of your moms are crazy sometimes and leave it at that." When Kashu heard his mother laughing in his head, he thought, "Women are weird." "Are you sure this is the right place, Tenten?" asked her father Dustin as they stood in front of a hill in the Uchiha district at 10 minutes to 7. After giving a nod, Tenten started to move forward, and Dustin's eyes widened as she vanished into the hillside. Then she stuck her head out and said, "Come on, Dad, we don't want to be late." After taking a deep breath, Dustin followed his daughter. He remarked as they descended the tunnel, "I hope they have some light to see down here." "It's amazing down here, just wait and see," Tenten said, laughing. They reached the end of the tunnel a short while later, and Dustin's eyes widened when he noticed that the cave's interior was illuminated with multicolored lights. Tenten exclaimed, beautiful, as she surveyed the area. Both turned when a female voice said, "It is, isn't it?" Tenten responded, "It's you." "Kushina," Dustin asked. "Is it really you? It's good to see you again, Dustin," Kushina remarked. Dustin replied, "But you're supposed to be dead. You were supposed to have died when Kyuubi attacked." Biting her lip, Kushina pointed to the left and remarked, "There are things about that night that would be best left for talks later. Makoto is finishing up dinner and Kashu is working on the last of his katas right now over there." Dustin had heard the partale name Kushina began to say, which confirmed his suspicions, but Tenten and Dustin looked where she was pointing and saw Kashu standing on top of a small pond moving through a few katas of taijutsu. Dustin commented, "He seems to have a natural grace to his movements. Is he who I think he is?" Kushina simply nods as she looks at Tenten, who is using her eyes to follow Kashu's movements. "Memorizing, isn't he?" she asks. With an amused expression on his face, Dustin coughed and said, "So how did he get here, I mean?" Tenten nods, not really listening. Tenten gasped as Dustin scowled as Kushina explained. Makoto found him in the woods right after his birthday. He had been attacked severely and left for dead, and someone had blinded him with senbon needles. Kushina glanced down and said, "Because of what happened the day he was born, I wasn't able to be there for him. I begged Makoto to take care of him for me, and she agreed to and became the mother to him I never could be." According to Tenten, "You his mother, Makoto is his mother. I was the woman who gave birth to him," Kushina said, closing her eyes. Tenten uttered the words, but, in confusion. Dustin replied, "Leave it alone, Tenten. There are things you are just too young to understand. If you look you can see Kushina regrets not being able to be there for him when he was younger, but she's here for him now." As she led them inside, Kushina said, "As much as possible. Looks like he's finished. Come on, let's head inside." Makoto had given them a time to be there for dinner, and she meant for them to be there at that time. Kashu, who had stopped his chakra on his feet, which kept him atop the water, fell into the water as the three of them got closer to the house. The group turned to watch Kashu as he clambered back up on top of the water. When they heard splashing water, Kushina shook her head and remarked, "That boy sometimes seems more fish than," before letting her words fall away. Dustin said, "Exactly how much training does he do?" Kushina, "I don't see any baby fat on his body. Hell, I've seen Chunin with less muscle-defined bodies." Tenten blushed as Kashu removed his shirt and squeezed the water out of it. Dustin blinked. As he draped his damp shirt over his shoulder, Kashu, who had approached, remarked, "Usually at least 7 hours a day for physical exercises." 7 hours just on physical training? I don't think I do that in an entire week outside of the academy, Tenten said, gaping at him. Makoto, who had already inhaled deeply to yell, paused as the door to the tiny house opened and said, "There you are, welcome. Well, Kashu, get some dry cloths on." As he entered the house, Kashu said, "Yes, mother," with a sheepish expression. Makoto held the door open and said, "Sorry about that. Welcome, please come inside." Tenten blushed when she entered and saw Naruto's nude backside while he was getting dressed in another room. Makoto slapped her forehead and said, "Kushina." Kushina walked over to the room where Kashu was and slammed the door shut behind her, saying, "Say no more." "Sorry about that. I'm used to living alone and it didn't occur to me others would see me changing. I am sorry for any uncomfortabilities I might have caused," Kashu said as he emerged a short while later, his mask still covering the lower half of his face. Dustin replied, "It's all right. Tenten, when I was potty training her, would run through the shop without her pants on screaming. She did it." Red in the face, Tenten yelled, "Daddy, Mom, Mother, what is the reaction she has?" Kashu said, blinking and turning his head to the side. "Her body seems tense somewhat, her breathing has stopped momentarily, and her heart rate has increased." Tenten continued to blush as Makoto said, "Forgive our son's actions please, Tenten. He is pretty good at reading human emotions by the reactions they cause that he can detect, but I guess the situation where someone is embarrassed never came up in his training. Sorry." Tenten puckered up and replied, "All right, I'll forgive him, but only if you tell me an equally embarrassing story, so that way if he ever breaths a word about that to anyone I can pay him back." Kushina replied, "Oh Dustin, I love your daughter. She just like her mother, beautiful, smart, and cunning." When Dustin's smile gradually faded, Kushina noticed and questioned, "What did I say something wrong?" Dustin said, "My wife passed away during the Kyuubi attack," as he glanced at Tenten. Everyone started to feel depressed, and Kushina apologized. Shook his head, Dustin said, "It's not your fault." Kushina glanced down and replied, You know how I said I couldn't be there for Kashu when he was younger? The reason is the day he was born was October 10th. The Kyuubi was released from a seal it had been locked away, and since I was 8 years old a masked ninja attacked me and my husband and released the Kyuubi from the seal that I was charged with guarding. It was my fault the Kyuubi was released because I wasn't strong enough to stop it. Tenten sighed as he said, "It wasn't your fault, it was the masked man's fault. I don't blame you, I'm sure you did your best." Dustin replied, "She's right Kushina, you had gave birth, which any woman can testify is tough, and you also had to fight in combat against an enemy ninja and try to fight the Kyuubi besides. I know who your husband was and I know that if it wasn't for you and your husband then the Kyuubi would have taken even more lives than it did." Kashu frowned behind his mask and said, "Tenten, my mom and mother informed me about why they asked you and your family here today. Before they tell you why, I want to tell you a story. A true story, as you heard my mom tell you. She was tasked with guarding the seal that held the Kyuubi and she was attacked and the seal holding Kyuubi was released. What you don't know is the Yondaime did not kill the Kyuubi like most of the village believes. He instead sealed the Kyuubi inside a new seal at the cost of his life. The seal was stored on the whirlpool heir the Sandaime was talking about today. The Kyuubi was sealed in him when he was just a baby. The boy's name is Naruto Uzumaki. When that happened, Naruto became what is known as a Jinchuriki or human sacrifice. The Sandaime passed a law saying no one who did not know about the sealing was allowed to speak about it, so I could get in big trouble if you tell anyone what I just told you, but I need to know, what do you think about Naruto? Be honest." Tenten scowled as she turned to face her father, who remarked, "Go ahead, dear, you can speak what's on your mind." "I helped Dad do sealing at our shop. I use sealing myself," Tenten said, glancing down. "I think Naruto would be a scroll and the Kyuubi would be whatever weapon was sealed in the scroll." Like everyone else at the table, Kashu grinned behind his mask. Kushina nodded with a proud grin on her face as she said, "You are a very smart young lady, Tenten. Your mother would be proud of you. When I mentioned I was the one guarding the last seal of the Kyuubi, I was trying to say I was its Jinchuriki, just like Naruto is now. The seal of a Jinchuriki is weakened when a woman gives birth, and the masked man knew this and attacked us at my weakest moment. My husband was Minato Namikaze Uzumaki, the Yondaime Hokage, and my real name is Kushina Uzumaki. Since Minato was an orphan when we were married, he took my clan name. As you might have figured out, Naruto is my son, which means..." With wide eyes, Tenten turned to face Kashu and uttered, "You're Naruto." Kashu replied, I've changed my name to Kashu wa Uchiha." Kushina said, "But the story of the sealing of the Kyuubi is a little bit different than what we told you and what everyone else believes. Minato summoned the Shinigami to help seal the Kyuubi away, but he sealed the Kyuubi's soul inside the Shinigami while sealing its chakra as well as mine and his soul inside of Naruto. I told you that someone had blinded Kashu here with Senbon needles. The reason they did that is because they couldn't tell the difference between him and the Kyuubi. The Sandaime Hokage lost a lot of respect from me and my husband because he lied to the people of Konoha about certain very important facts about the Kyuubi being sealed and why it attacked in the first place. He knew Konoha was weakened and he thought other villages might attack, so he told the entire village and then passed his law that no one was allowed to speak about it, so that way other villages would fear that we would break the seal, killing Naruto on their village if they messed with Konoha. I told you I couldn't be there for Naruto when he was younger. The reason was because Naruto can only actually use very little of Kyuubi chakra. We think it's about 1/10 of his total chakra reserves worth of Kyuubi he is actually able to use. When Naruto was blinded and he was found by Makoto, Naruto just barely had large enough chakra reserves for Minato and me to use Kyuubi chakra to create a simple bunshin for less than 3 minutes, which I asked Makoto to take care of Naruto for me when I couldn't. Makoto continued, which I agreed to. Over the years the amount he could use has grown, which is why Kushina here is able to make a cage bunshin body now. But we can't tell everyone the truth about what really happened to the Kyuubi, because if we do, the idiots who can't tell the kunai for the scroll will attack Kashu. As far as Kushina, Minato, and me are concerned, Naruto Uzumaki might as well be considered dead. Names don't mean anything. If we can give him a normal life, then we will let everyone in the world forget Naruto Uzumaki. Will you keep our secrets?" Tenten nods as he says, "Yeah. I can't imagine what you all must have went through, but I know a parent would do anything to protect their children. I nearly got killed once when I tried to help Dad in the forge. Dad actually lost his leg when the shelf I had knocked over would have crushed me had he not shoved me out of the way." "No wonder your chakra feels so weird. Your leg is a puppet leg, isn't it?" said Kashu, blinking. According to Dustin, "Yeah, so what now?" Kushina replied, "Dustin, with everything you have learned, will you keep our secrets and be willing to trust us?" Dustin stated, Kushina, you and Minato were two of my best friends. You saved mine and my wife's lives, helped get us together, and broke into that prison in Wind Country I was held in to rescue me. I trust you with my life and my daughter's life, and I would never betray your trust. Makoto laughed and replied, thank you. As you saw earlier, there are a great many things we have not been able to teach Kashu yet. He still needs to work on being cautious around large crowds in order to keep from blowing out his eardrums again. He needs to learn to be able to get around Konoha and know where locations like the library, grocery store, restaurants, and other things are. With what happened recently with the rest of my clan, I'm going to have to spend a lot of time in either council meetings or trying to help Sasuke recover from the genjutsu torture he was put through and help Itachi recover from his injuries. I'm not abandoning Kashu, but he is going to have to become more independent. That is where you come in, Tenten. Kushina replied, what we would like is to offer you a deal. Since your mom isn't around, there are going to be several things as a young woman and Kunoichi you are going to need help in understanding. With your permission, Dustin, Makoto and I would like to offer to help Tenten with her training as well as female issues in exchange for her helping Kashu to adjust to getting around the village, and also help him at the academy because we know that several issues are going to come up with people wanting to see his face or trying to pick on him because of his condition. We've trained him for everything we could, but there will be times things we couldn't have prepared for will pop up. We would like Tenten to be there to help him when we can't. Tenten replied, you're wanting to sort of make us partners. I help him when he needs it and you help me when I need it. According to Kushina, basically yes. Dustin stated, Tenten, you are growing up and will have to make decisions for yourself, just like I let you decide if you wanted to join the academy to become a kunoichi. I will let you decide if you want to do this. Tenten replied, but what about helping you after school? And Dustin stated, Tenten, you're only able to help me 3 hours a day during the week and on weekends right now. If you want to train during the week and help Kashu and help me on the weekends, then I don't see any problems, but it's your choice. Tenten bit her lip and said, I want to see your face if I'm going to help keep your secrets and help you. Then I want to know what is going to drive the other girls crazy with trying to figure out. She had previously looked down before turning to face Kashu. Tenten and Dustin gasped as Kashu reached up, grabbed the mask covering the bottom of his face, and pulled it down. What happened? Your face is, Tenten said as she vanished in a cloud of smoke. Kushina remarked, when Kashu went to find out why Makoto and Itachi hadn't come to visit as they said they were going to. In order to hide his identity, he cut his face. You will understand in a moment. As the red glow vanished, Kashu's face began to flush a little and the scars on his cheeks started to heal, leaving 3 whisker-like scars on each cheek. That is what his face really looks like. People see the whiskers and think it's because of the Kyuubi when they are actual birthmarks he was born with, most likely because the Kyuubi was sealed inside me, Kushina said, appearing in another puff of smoke a moment later. Don't cut up your face again, Tenten said with a frown. Kashu replied, why is it every female I know have that same tone when I do something they don't like? Get used to it, kid, women do it to every guy, Dustin said with a sly smile. After hearing 3 HEY cries, Kushina remarked, anyway, I need to know if you accept Tenten. Tenten replied, yes, my dream is to prove Kunoichi can be just as good as Shinobi. Having you both help me will make reaching my dream easier. Makoto remarked, I know that confuses you, son, but not everyone has as much respect as you do for Kunoichi, and you haven't met fangirls yet because of them. Kunoichi are often seen as weaklings or as sex objects. Kashu had a puzzled expression on his face. Kashu replied, well, that's dumb. I rather fight Dad and Itachi at the same time than fight either of you. According to Dustin, smart thinking kid, Kushina said, well, in that case I need to set up a few things. We can't risk this place being discovered. This cave is Kashu home and place of solitude where you can train privately and where Minato and I can come out of the seal. This is also where we will mostly be training you, Tenten. To keep you from being followed here, both of you. I have placed a seal where I first met you both tonight. It is a summoning target seal. I want your permission to place a small seal on each of you that when you activate it, it will bring you here. If you would let me, I can place on your left wrist that will bring you here and one on each of your right wrist that will cause you to be summoned to a place inside your family home. Wherever you place the matching summoning seal, I will place on a scroll before you leave. This will allow Kashu to be summoned to your shop in the morning and allow you to travel here to train when you're not spending time in the village. That way you won't have to walk here and can't be followed. Sounds similar to Minato Hireishin's seal, Dustin remarked. According to Kushina, basically it is. All right, I agree, Dustin said. Makoto replied, can you only give me the one to summon me here and give me a scroll to summon myself to someplace in the Uchiha district away from here until Sasuke has recovered and is able to accept Kashu? Then I don't want him being able to come here. This place was created to save my family, not be a place to destroy it. Tenten replied, sure. That will save us time and will make sure if he accidentally blow out his eardrums again, then he won't be at the hands of some random stranger again. Kashu responded, I agree, though I only was at your hands because of me being stupid and amplifying my ears so I could hear your heart to tell me if you were telling the truth, since we had originally got off on the wrong foot. Tenten glared as he said, You were listening to my heart. Why are you glaring at me like that? Kashu asked. Cocking his head to the side, she huffed and crossed her arms as Tenten said, Just wait, little man, I'm going to show you exactly why you don't try to spy on a woman like that. With a bewildered tone, Kashu questioned, What did I do? Dustin thought. You were doomed, boy, doomed. Kushina and Makoto exchanged smirks.
That's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this great story. See you in the next one.